Trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange has opened today. The exchange in London opened an hour ago, and the New York Stock Exchange is yet to open. While in China, opening bells went off at 2 a.m. local time. Welcome to the opening bell. First, let's take a quick look at some stories, business news stories making the rounds. Starting from the continental economy. The African Development Bank, AFDB, has launched initiatives to alleviate the challenges faced by certain African countries targeting the persistent crisis of hazardous chemicals in 11 least developed countries, LDCs, across Africa, which is the first of its kind by the AFDB, as the program presents a milestone in sustainable chemical management. And from the global economy, the horrifying fire at one of the world's largest lithium-ion battery storage facilities in Monterey County, which ignited on January 16, burned for 5 days and ultimately destroyed around 80% of the batteries inside the building, didn't just send plumes of smoke over nearby communities, it cast a pall over the future of California's clean energy industry. Details of these stories and more will come to you on Global Business. And away from that, let's jump right onto the floors of our featured exchanges, starting on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the NGX All-Share Index, as at yesterday, closed on the low, falling by 0.44% to close at 103,955.75 points. A total of 542,229,692 shares valued at 13,636,085,339 naira 8 kobo were traded across 15,561 deals with equity capitalization of 64,156,114,411,882 naira 87 kobo. Now, the biggest gainer of the day was Unicel, which rose by 10%, while other gainers were Okumu Oil, Score, SFS Rate, and NEM. On the other hand, MRS topped the losers list with a decline of 9.95%, while other losers were Red Star X, Len Africa, Darcom, and Veritas Cap. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll look at activities from other selected exchanges, the likes of the New York, London, Shenzhen, and Shanghai exchanges. The Afia Business Morning and indeed opening bell. We'll be right back. Please stay. Welcome back to the Afia Business Morning, and you are still watching the opening bell. Straight to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, where it mostly rises in index values across board. NYSE Composite DJ is down by 51%. NYSE US 100 Index is also down by 17%. Dow Jones Industrial Average is up by 33%. S&P 500 Index is up by 41%. NYSE FANG Index is up by 2.11%. Nasdaq Composite is up by 1.16%. Nasdaq 100 is up by 0.91%. And to the floor of the London Stock Exchange, rate all rises in index values across board. FTSE 100 is up by 0.07%. FTSE 250 is up by 1.13%, and FTSE 350 is up by 0.51%. FTSE All-Share Index is up by 0.51%. And moving to the floor of the Chinese Stock Exchange, starting in Shenzhen, well, incidentally, I beg your pardon, it's all dips in index values. Shenzhen Company Index is down by 1.33%. Shenzhen Composite Index is down by 1.30%. Chinex Index is down by 2.73%. And staying in China, but moving to Shanghai, where it mostly dips in index values across board. SSE Composite Index is down by 0.06%. SSE 50 Index is up by 0.45%. STAR 50 Index is down by 2.02%. And SSE 180 Index is down by 0.10%. SSE 380 Index is down by 0.55%. And SCI 300 Index is down by 0.41%. We'll quickly take a short break, and when we return, we'll take a close look at commodity prices and consumer price trends in the open market. Do not forget to follow this program and join the conversation on our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel. Kindly type in the search bar www.youtube.com/@AfiaBusiness. Do well to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for all business-related content. The Afia Business Morning will be right back.
name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Apamaga.
I am Chioma Okbala.
My name is Ifulaya Ndule, but I'm living in our market speaking.
You're welcome back. I am Marvelous Apwamaga. It's still the Afia Business Morning and you're watching Opening Bell right here on Afia TV. Now it's time to check in on commodity prices. We'll start with precious metals and it's an upward movement today for gold. Gold rose by 0.60%. Silver is up by 0.60% and platinum is down by 0.26%. Palladium is down by 0.95%. And we move on to energy, where natural gas is down by 8.05%. Ethanol is down by 0.29%. Coal is up by 0.37%. Oil Brent is up by 0.31%. Oil Bonylite is down by 2.84%. Brass River is down by 0.40%. Koibo is down by 0.40%. And moving on to industrial metals, where aluminium is down by 0.98%. Lead is also down by 0.21%. And iron ore has no activity. Copper is up by 0.42%. Nickel is down by 0.51%. Zinc is down by 1.10%. And tin is also down by 0.42%. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning and this is Opening Bell. Do also follow this program and join in on conversation on our dedicated business YouTube channel. Kindly type in the search bar www.youtube.com/Afia Business. Do also like, subscribe and turn on notifications for all business related content. Up next is a look at the hike in prices of food commodities in the open market, as well as hike in fuel prices. And that's all for today. See you tomorrow on the Opening Bell when trading begins. I am Marvelous Apwamaga. Stay tuned.
What are your thoughts on the spate of sex for grades in Nigerian universities?
This very issue of owing salary should be criminalized.
How can they amplify their voices?
People don't have evidence.
You want to get to know about it? Have to stay tuned right here on Afia Morning Show to get the pulse and the feel of that.
Join us on Gyno Plus every Wednesday at 6 p.m. right here on Afia TV, DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17, where we will delve into health issues affecting girls and women in society.
Breastfeeding doesn't even cause breast size. The frequency of breastfeeding means the approach you take to make sure that your well-being is maintained.
Join me every weekday on the Afia Business Morning as we bring to you a trilogy of business segments. The opening bell, where we see activities from our selected stock exchanges. The global business, where we bring you up to speed on business activities making the rounds all over the world. And we bring the conversation home on the segment Eastern Business Reports, as we discuss business activities and issues bedeviling businesses in the Southeast region. My name is Ubon Kings. Join the Afia Business Morning every weekday 10 a.m. to 12 noon, exclusive to Afia TV on DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. The Afia Business Morning. Business unusual.
Many thanks for staying tuned to Afia Business Morning. This is Global Business, where we take a look at business news stories around the continent of Africa and the rest of the world. My name is Marvelous Apuamaga. Welcome. Here are the headlines we are following right now. Starting off from business stories from Africa. African Development Bank intervenes as 11 African countries battle hazardous chemicals. Horrifying California fire sparks safety concerns. And Jaguar Land Rover invests in custom paint services. We'll bring you details of these stories and more after this break. Please stay with us. You're still watching Global Business right here on Afia TV, and this is the Afia Business Morning. We'll begin with business stories from Africa, where it has reported that the African Development Bank, AFDB, has launched initiatives to alleviate the challenges faced by certain African countries targeting the persistent crisis of hazardous chemicals in 11 least developed countries across Africa, which is the first of its kind by the AFDB, as the program represents a milestone in sustainable chemical management. The project is backed by a $21.3 million grant from the Global Environment Facility, complemented by co-financing from AFDB-supported projects in urban development, agriculture, and agro-industrial sectors within the participating countries. Now, this innovative initiative aims to mitigate health risks, prevent environmental degradation, and bolster the long-term economic resilience of these nations. I think this initiative is groundbreaking because, it targets environmental and health issues that are often overlooked in least developed countries. Now, these countries typically struggle with limited resources and toxic chemical in industries, agriculture, and waste management, which are, a significant threat to both the people and the planet. One might ask if this can be sustained. Well, I would say, since this initiative is a multi-sectoral financing strategy, which involves sectors that understand that chemicals not just impact health, but economic activities like farming and urban growth, I think it will strengthen the long-term impact of the initiative. And away from Africa, UK drinks company, Diageo, has denied it is considering a sale of its Guinness brand, along with a 34% stake in the champagne and cognac business, Moet Hennessy. Meanwhile, Guinness, which could be privately sold or publicly listed, could be valued at more than $10 billion, as a sale of the brand, which now appears unlikely, could provide a cash injection for Diageo amid a rocky period. Cooling demand in China and the US has hit margins, and a build-up of unsold inventory in Mexico and Brazil forced the firm to issue a profit warning in 2023, where spirit sales have dipped since the pandemic, partially as consumers hit by inflation look for cheaper alcoholic alternatives. Now, furthermore, Diageo said it would next update the market with half-year results on the 4th of February. It seems like Diageo is, in a tough spot right now with multiple challenges affecting its profits. And now that the cooling brand is, like a major market like China and the US, combined with inventory issues in Mexico and Brazil, that suggests that the company is struggling to maintain its previous growth levels. Now, the dip in spirit sales due to inflation-driven shifts in consumer behavior is also a big factor, as people are choosing cheaper options over premium brands. I think the denial of selling Guinness or its stake in Moet Hennessy is a strategic move, to reassure investors that the company isn't rushing into drastic measures. Now, these assets, are incredibly valuable, and selling them would be a big decision. So it kind of makes sense for Diageo to hold on to them, at least for now. Now, that said, the profit warning and the broader market measures signal that Diageo is at a crossroads. Now, the upcoming half-year results will be crucial, in showing how they plan to adjust these challenges, and if they can adapt to changing consumer preferences and navigate the inventory issues, they might still be able to recover. But if those problems persist, it could take longer to see a turnaround. Now, moving on to business news from the automobile world. Kia America is recalling more than 80,000 vehicles due to an issue identified with wiring beneath the front passenger seats in some of its vehicles that could potentially prevent vehicles' airbags and seat belts from deploying properly, and would cover the 2023 to 2025 Nero EV plug-in hybrid and hybrid vehicles. U.S. vehicle dealerships will inspect recalled vehicles, replace and reroute the floor wiring assembly as necessary for free, as dealers will install wiring covers. The recall follows one in November last year, when both and Kia recalled more than 200,000 electric vehicles to fix a transistor in a charging control unit that could stop charging the 12-volt battery. Now, at the time, the company said that these faults could cause loss of drive power and increase the risk of an accident. It looks like Kia is facing, a couple of significant issues with the safety and functionality of its vehicles. The recall of over 80,000 vehicles due to faulty wiring that could prevent airbags and seatbelts from deploying is a serious concern. Sorry about that. As this critical safety and futures. Now, it's good to see that Kia is addressing the problem by offering free inspections and repairs at dealerships, which could eventually help mitigate potential risk. Now, the fact that this follows a major recall just a few months ago affecting over 200,000 electric vehicles for a separate issue suggests that Kia is dealing with, some underlying quality control or design challenges. Now, the previous recall related to a potential failure is in the charging control unit, which could lead to a loss of drive power and increase the risk of accident, further highlighting, the company's ongoing safety and reliability issues. It's positive that Kia is actually responding proactively, but repeated recalls can impact the company's reputation, and it's crucial that they address these quality concerns thoroughly to regain consumer trust. I think so, especially with increasing competition in electric vehicle markets. If they can fix these issues quickly and effectively, it may help mitigate long-term damage to their brand. But it will be important for Kia to ensure such issues don't become a recurring problem. We'll go on a short break now. You're still watching, Global Business right here on Afia TV. Global Business returns shortly. So stay with us. Welcome back to the Afia Business Morning right here on Afia TV. You're still watching Global Business. Now to the rest of our stories. The British car maker Jaguar Land Rover will invest £65 million to expand its custom paint services for wealthy clients, which will now be able to match their car's palette with their private jet or yacht colors, and would be created in Castle Bromwich in the UK and Nitra in Slovakia to support the operation. Jaguar Land Rover said investment would also help it to cut energy and water use as well as paint use. However, the decision follows a similar investment by competitor Rolls-Royce, which announced earlier in January that it would invest £300 million in expanding its Goodwood factory in the UK. Unfortunately, the vehicle prompted mixed reactions on social media, with some claiming the car maker had lost its way as a luxury brand. Now, this seems like a bold move, to make in the luxury car market and attract rich buyers who are willing to pay something special. However, there could be a problem. Now, some people might feel like Jaguar Land Rover is, focusing too much on the super rich and, forgetting about their regular customers. While some reactions on social media show that everyone is happy with this, not everyone, I beg your pardon, is happy with this direction. Now, on the plus side, the company is also focusing on being more environmentally friendly by reducing energy, water use, and paint waste, which is a good move in today's world. Now, when comparing this investment to Rolls-Royce, much bigger investment, it looks like Jaguar Land Rover is trying to compete in the luxury market, but with a smaller budget. Now, this might make some people wonder if they are trying to catch up instead of leading the way. Now, if Jaguar Land Rover can find the right balance between offering luxury customization and keeping its broader appeal, I think this could work out well. But if they focus too much on the super rich, they might risk losing their wider customer base. This is actually a tricky situation. Well, I'll leave it at that. Now, moving on to more stories from the rest of the world, the US President Donald Trump is to hold off on imposing steep tariffs on Colombia after the country's government agreed to accept deported migrants being returned on military planes, where the country had initially said they would only accept migrants from the US if they arrived on civilian planes, saying that they should not be treated like criminals. Trump recently vowed swift and punishing retaliation after the Colombian government over the weekend blocked the arrival of deportation flights from the US, objecting to the Trump administration's efforts to use military planes to deport migrants. Trump further indicated that his administration will put in place several actions against Colombia, including a 25% tariff, which would be raised to 50% after 1 week on all goods coming into the US from Colombia. However, the feud between the two countries comes as a warning of what could happen if a country seeks to impede Trump's immigration plans. On one hand, this kind of pressure might, get results quickly, as seen with Colombia agreeing to accept deportation flights on military planes. But on the other hand, this approach can create tension and make other countries wary of US demands, potentially harming long-term relationships. Now, it's a tough balancing act. While it's clear that Trump is determined to enforce his immigration policies, this kind of threats could backfire if they push countries too far to lead to unnecessary economic damage. Now, the question is whether this tough love strategy will lead to lasting cooperation or it is just a temporary solution. We will find out. Now, in an attempt to end this bulletin, the horrifying fire at one of the world's largest lithium-ion battery storage facilities in Monterey County, which ignited on January 16, burned for 5 days and ultimately destroyed around 80% of the batteries inside the building. They didn't just send plumes of smoke over nearby communities, it cast a pall over the future of California's clean energy industry. Now, as the smoke clears, Monterey area officials warn that the blaze may be a harbinger as the state increases its reliance on renewable energy, electric vehicles and other battery-powered services. Already, the fire has prompted calls for additional safety regulations around battery storage and more local control over where storage sites are located, as officials are also demanding that most landing remain offline until an investigation can be completed and major safety improvements implemented. Well, we'll follow up with the story as well as the other stories as they unfold. Get our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel and watching live, kindly type in the search bar www.youtube.com/@AfiaBusiness. Do well to like, subscribe and turn on notifications for all business related content. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning right here on Afia TV. Coming up next on the Eastern Business Report, we will be looking at the waste management industry. The Afia Business Morning will be right back. My name is Marvelous Apuamaga. Stay tuned.
Join me every weekday on the Afia Business Morning as we bring to you a trilogy of business segments. See opening bell where we see activities from our Southeastern stock exchanges. The global business where we bring you up to speed on business activities, making the rounds all over the world. And we bring the conversation home on the segment Eastern Business Reports as we discuss business activities and issues bedeviling businesses in the Southeast region. My name is Ubon Kings. Join the Afia Business Morning every weekday 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Exclusive to Afia TV on DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. The Afia Business Morning. Business unusual.
You're still watching the Afia Business Morning, and this is the Eastern Business Reports designed to bring you up to speed on business activities and policies affecting businesses and the economy of the Southeastern region of Nigeria. It comes after Global Business on the Afia Business Morning. And on today's edition of the Eastern Business Reports, we will be looking at the business of the waste management industry. My name is Marvelous Apwamaga. Welcome to the Eastern Business Report. Welcome back to the Eastern Business Reports, and like I said before we went on that quick break, on today's edition we will be looking at the business of waste management. And joining me on this conversation is Mr. Harry Chiwoba, Executive Director, Whichway NG. You're welcome on the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
Very fine, madam.
So Enugu State has been experiencing rapid urbanization, which has led to the increase of waste in the state. How can proper waste management become a revenue source for the Enugu State government? Because this has been a major concern.
Okay, so there's something I call the Enugu waste economy. And I think that's something that the Enugu State government should begin to look into. Currently, the state is investing heavily on infrastructure, urbanizing the town generally, but not much has been done in terms of providing infrastructure in waste management. And the last time we discussed, we talked about decentralizing the waste management system in Enugu. There's actually no system yet, but we need to create a system, and it is from that system that the government can then generate a revenue. And in that decentralization, what we are talking about is bringing in private actors and then the government playing a regulation. For example, I am one of the advocates that says that Nigerians and Enugu people will pay for services when they get it. For instance, if the state provides waste managers across the different parts of Enugu who come to your houses weekly or daily, depending on what routine is there, to collect the trash at your door or by your gate, and you are meant to pay a token of 1,000 or 1,500, I don't think we'll be having this waste problem, because these waste managers will come, pick the trash, and the state government will generate revenue from that. Imagine that all the flats in Enugu, if we have 1 million flats in Enugu, pay 1,000 naira at the end of the month. How much do you think that the state government will generate from that? That's so close to 1 billion naira. monthly. So this is what we are saying. There is huge resources, there is huge revenue in that waste sector that is yet untapped. And these are issues around policy, just like I said before, decentralizing, and it begins with the policy making. So once that policy comes into play and actors are brought in, then the system will become liberal, the state will benefit from it economically, and the citizens will also benefit, and the state will be cleaner.
Yeah, in Enugu State now we are looking for a way to keep the state clean, or to maintain the cleanliness that's currently, happening in the state. And you mentioned people going to doorsteps, collecting trash, and I remember when I was staying with my grandma in Ababa, that was some years ago, there were people coming to collect trash from the house. But there was a time we also heard that these people take this trash and dump them in this one Miri something at that Ababa area, and that's where they dump them. So don't you think this would, lead to some sort of bringing back the old states of the environment?
So if you listened to what I said the government, SWAMA, for example, will play a regulatory role.
Okay.
So supervising these managers, you do not have one manager managing an entire stretch. You give people block by block to manage. So it is easy for you to come in and say, this has happened within your space, what is going on?
Accountability.
There's accountability and transparency in the entire system.
Okay.
And that's what we are saying. So if somebody manages mayor, for example, whatever happened in that mayor axis, he takes responsibility, and the government does not care. So whatever you do to maintain the cleanliness of your environment, you do it. And the government is the enforcer of the law. So if any individual is found wanting, you remember growing up in the 90s, there used to be these health workers who go around in white shirts and brown trousers to inspect the environment. We need to bring back, and these people are there, taking salary and doing very minimal jobs. We need to get them engaged. Let them work with these waste managers to ensure the enforcement of the policy of cleanliness. And Enugu State will be better for it. Yet there will be more money in the pockets of the government, and the people also will be happier, because it burdens me, for example, who would have to drive out of my house on a daily basis with trash in my trunk to come and drop. Sometimes you drive out only for the purpose of disposing trash and driving back. So I would prefer to pay 1,000 or 1,500 for someone to come pick it from my doorsteps. And
now it's obvious the waste management sector in Enugu State is fully managed by the government, and you spoke rather severally about decentralization. I would like you to share more lights on decentralization. How should the government go about it? Okay, so for me, in terms of decentralization, it's going to be a multi-sectoral, a multi-agency participation. Because for you to effectively do that, different stakeholders need to play in this environment. We talked about the markets. The markets are never clean, like you said. The market managers, those who run the markets, the Omata people, according to what they are called, these people are key actors in this thing. They need to be brought on board. When you come to communities, there are people who are like the gatekeepers of those communities. Those people need to be brought on board because they know the houses one after the other. So the Enugu State Waste Management Agency needs to have what looks like a town hall meeting where the different stakeholders within the state need to be brought in to bring in the suggestions, a homegrown idea of how this policy should be formed. And ultimately, in the end, when the policy has been drafted, bring in technology for the the revenue collection process so that it is transparent and reduce human interference in terms of the collection of the funds. And then the state can benefit sufficiently, and the waste managers can also benefit sufficiently. So it is for example, the Ministry of Lands would have to come into play to tell us
how many buildings are in certain areas, such that when you put that up in a system, you can simply say, okay, in XYZ areas we have 20 flats, and as such we are expecting 20,000 at the end of the month from the waste managers. So the waste managers cannot cheat the government, because it is the Ministry of Lands and Urban Development that issue approvals for the erection of this land. And when the buildings are complete, they are also aware. So they can tell us how many buildings we have in a particular street and how many flats are there. And then the waste management can then say, okay, because based on this, if we have 2 managers, you are handling this portion, you are handling this portion, we are expecting you to be able to generate XYZ fund. And with the use of technology, we can know who has not paid and who has paid. It's as simple as that.
We've been talking about the government generating funds. We've not talked about these private sectors themselves, or even individuals, stakeholders, like you mentioned. Now, there are people who, because I've heard some people some time ago say they are really interested in the waste management business, but there's no funds, and they really do not know how to go about it. And I'm glad you're here. So please, can you tell us, if we want to go into the waste management industry, what should we do? How do we go about it?
First is policy formation. It is difficult for anybody, except for estates like these. For example, this building now, the estate that covers here, can engage a waste manager to come collect waste. Do you understand us? And you are expected to pay your waste levy, just as the Enugu State Board of Internal Revenue collect taxes from businesses in Enugu State. That is also how the waste management system should be designed. Every resident, every apartment, every business in Enugu is supposed to pay as little as 1,000 naira for that waste to be properly collected and disposed for them. So what we are saying is, let there be a policy in place, let the infrastructure, let the structures and the system be put in place that will accommodate these waste managers. If I have the funds to do waste management business, for example, and there is no law backing me up to say if a person defaults in paying, then he can then be prosecuted by the law or by the state, then I'm just doing a private business, and it is only those who are willing to pay for my services that I would engage. But if there is a policy that mandates you to dispose your waste in a particular way, for your waste to be collected in a particular way, because the current waste collection system is not functional and is not as effective as it should be, we need a better system. And in that better system, one of the key factors is decentralization, system formation, policy formation, and essentially infrastructural building.
How many jobs do you think this waste management industry would create for Enugu State? Because we're talking about decentralizing the waste management sector. How many jobs do you think this would create for people, residents in Enugu State?
If we want to give it, let's be very conservative. If we want to be very conservative, we're looking at about 3,000 jobs within Enugu Urban. If we want to be conservative, we're looking at about close to about 3,000 direct jobs. We're not talking about the indirect ones for the recyclers, the scavengers like we discussed about and all of those things, but the direct persons who are going to be involved in the day-to-day management, collection, the administrators of this waste and all of those things. We're looking at about 3,000 youths who will be engaged.
Could you be exact? The administrator?
While it will be difficult for you to be exact is because, for example, in the decentralization system, you may not know the number of waste managers that the state will be engaging.
Okay.
But if the state is able to engage, let's say, 100 waste managers, which will be inadequate, which will still be a chunk for them to manage. Because 100 means that, let's say, we'll be having like 5 to manage New Haven, the entire of New Haven. Do you understand? Now, for those 5 companies to effectively function in New Haven, they need a manager. they need an accountant, they need waste collectors, they need a driver. So for those 5, we are looking at about already close to 25 to 100 jobs in New Haven alone. You go to Gariki, densely populated. You come to the entire stretch of Abani Road. One day is there, Meniri is there, Mount is there, Achara Layout is there. You know, you keep coming and you get to a new market area. You go to Abakpa, you go to MNA. All of these places are going to have jobs that will be created and employment created for at least 100 persons in each of those localities. And that's what we are saying.
You're a keen advocate for recycling. And you know, the last time we had a conversation about recycling, the SPA was on the AM show with Natalie and mentioned that we do not need water for recycling. You stated that we need water for recycling if we must recycle in Enugu State, which is one of the reasons why people do not recycle often. And he stated that we do not need water for recycling. I'd like you to speak to that. Okay,
it depends on what you are recycling and what you are not recycling.
Okay.
For example, if you want to recycle plastic bottles, you need water to clean them, because a used plastic bottle that has been disposed is already contaminated, so you need to wash before you reuse. So that's a place for where you need water. That's just one example of the many. The other area where you may not need water is in agriculture, where you may be making compost from the waste, like organic manures, which are very effective in crop production today. They are seen to have been more effective than inorganic manure, than the fertilizers that we use. And these are from food remnants that we have at home, that we produce at home, or the ones that are even coming from restaurants that are disposed today in public places that causes the stench in the environment. If you go around some of the big eateries in Enugu, this kind of stench that come from the drainages is appalling. And these are things that can be appalling. And these are things that can be. I remember growing my days in the university, there's this place they call sewage, where they collect all the sewage waste and recycle it into organic manures for the agricultural department. And that's what they use to grow their crops. So this is a system, and that's what they use to grow their crops. So this is a system that could also be brought into Enugu State. And those compost waste could be used for the agriculture. The non-decomposable ones could be used for an array. We talked about plastic pure water sachets. Pure water sachets could be used to even mix concrete for building, because they do not decompose. There are certain technologies that have used it to do that, to build. So there are a whole, but you need to sort those waste before all of this can be done. And we talked about sorting the waste, and we talked about knowing how to separate waste, knowing how to collect the waste at the point of use. The person who is generating the waste must know how to separate this waste so that it is easy for those who want to recycle to sort the waste out and then recycle effectively.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chibuba. So what kind of policies, should be in place to strengthen the waste management in Enugu State? Because we said a lot about, you said policies, you said infrastructure, and a lot of them. So what kind of policies do you think the government should put in place to strengthen the waste management in Enugu State?
We're looking at policies. First of all, we need to begin to see policies that, first of all, contraband certain instruments of use, like plastic waste. We need to see how we regulate the use of plastic and replace those with maybe paper bags. Such kind of policies, we should begin to look at those kind of policies. Although I understand the business angle to it and the competition that they're daring, and also the advocates for climate change will tell you that using paper bags means also increasing deforestation, cutting down trees to produce paper. But we have talked also about recycling, so we can recycle paper to produce paper bags. Yes, we recycle paper waste to produce paper bags, and is an effective system that would work. So when we talk about policies, we also talk about policies that will bring in private sector as actors in the waste management system. That's in the decentralization system. So those are policies that we put in place to allow for actors to come in, for stakeholders to come in the waste management business and become players and active players in the system. And that also will also contribute to making Enugu State a cleaner state and a more effective state in waste management.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chuba. Is there any other thing you want to add before we go?
Well, the thing I want to say is to really commend the Enugu State government for what they are doing, and also to commend Afia TV and the management of Afia TV for also focusing essentially on this issue of waste, because not very many people speak much about it, and not very many people are keen about the waste management system in Nigeria and in the state. So yeah, I'm really delighted that the station is making deliberate effort to call the attention of the state, of policy formators, of the actors in the industry, to say that this is something that we should look at. And just like I would always say, they say cleanliness is next to godliness, and we should always try to be clean.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chuwu Baheri, Executive Director, Whichway NG. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now, this is the size of the package today on the Eastern Business Report. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning live from Enugu State, Nigeria. Kindly join in on this conversation and watching live right now on our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel. Kindly type in the search bar www.youtube.com/@AfiaBusiness. Do well to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for all business-related content. Coming up next is Afia. My name is Marvelous Apuamaga. Please stay tuned.